Wow, so many people brought up calcium.
Clearly calcium is important, but how much do our peers really know about dairy and calcium?
Let's dive deeper into some research on calcium.
Want to grow? The calcium in milk helps bones grow.
Dairy companies love boasting the calcium component in dairy, and clearly consumers got the message.
Calcium.
It has calcium.
Calcium.
Source of calcium, right?
Calcium. Calcium.
Calcium.
While these ad campaigns frame milk as the best source of calcium, recent studies show that increased calcium intake through milk or dietary calcium supplements does not lead to decreased risk of osteoporotic fractures. Does that surprise you?
Here's a snapshot of a recent Harvard study which examines the correlation. Among women 30 to 55 years of age, a demographic at particularly high risk of developing osteoporosis, a disease in which bones become increasingly brittle. Increased milk consumption and higher dietary calcium do not provide significant protection against hip or forearm fractures. In fact, in the cohort that participated in the study, women who consumed more calcium from dairy sources had increased risk for hip fractures, while women who consumed non-dairy calcium did not see the same increase. Although the dairy calcium cannot be pinpointed as the agent responsible for the increased risk in fractures, the study does show that high consumption of milk during your adult life will not confer significant protection against osteoporosis.
Another longitudinal study among girls from 12 years of age to 18 years of age showed neither milk nor calcium intake had any beneficial effect on children's bones. Also, out of 37 studies of dairy or dietary calcium intake, 28 found that there was no relation between calcium intake and measure of bone health, and the remaining reports showed very small effects on bone health.
This highlights a misconception propagated in most Western countries regarding a supposed positive correlation between bone health and dairy intake. For instance, postmenopausal women seeking to reduce the risk of osteoporosis have often turned to milk as a source of calcium. However, studies have shown that osteoporotic bone fracture rates are actually higher in countries consuming the most dairy, calcium, and animal protein. This leads us to the million-dollar question that could bring down a billion-dollar industry. Are milk and other dairy products the best sources of calcium?
Maybe not. Calcium is the most abundant mineral in the human body, and dairy has long been thought to be the most efficient way to get this essential nutrient. But there are various plant-based foods that offer all the calcium a person needs without the health risks found in dairy. The list is endless. Leafy greens, Brussels sprouts, kale, and collard greens, just to suggest a few. Also, calcium is more highly absorbed from beans and most greens than from milk.
So what? Young people should still consume milk products for the calcium value for growing and strengthening bones, right? Again, this is up for debate. The American Journal of Clinical Nutrition recently published a research article about dairy consumption in vegetarian diets that found dairy consumption contributes to a number of chronic conditions and diseases in adulthood, as well as a number of childhood concerns. One such concern is type 1 diabetes development in children exposed to cow milk at an early age.
So, do we really have a calcium crisis? Actually, we have a calcium imbalance crisis. The World Health Organization notes that high protein intake is associated with increased fractures in animal protein actually results in calcium loss. This means that the protein content in dairy products that is at the forefront of the Milk Life campaign actually offsets the calcium within the product. Combined with the reality that less calcium is absorbed from milk than from other foods, milk may be working directly against bone health.